Okay, here's my lineup. So I am bringing Furashen, Kuvira's version of the list. I didn't change a single card, which is a shame because I totally would have changed. Like Chevalier is a dumpster card. I got like hardcore baited. He's running like 2 Young Witch and 2 Protege and 2 River Shaper just so he can run Chevalier. It would be hilarious if I lost because that card's in this list for some reason. But you know, we take these things as they go. It's already submitted. It's too late. Listen, Alan, I know Chevalier's shit. Listen, I couldn't agree more. Kuvira's trolling hard. Kuvira's trolling hard, but it doesn't matter.
You can't understand. You'll understand one day.
He's just too much smarter than the rest of us. Here's my second list. This is a weird one. I've entitled this list Giga Jank Pile. And there's a reason for that. Effectively, so right now, the field is weird. With tournament prep in lineups, you always have to talk about what you're playing against and what you're expecting to not play against via the ban, what you're expecting to play against, you know, a lot via potentially a target or at least making sure your decks are fine against them. And so this list is going to look a lot weirder than this is. A lot weirder than this is. For example, the first thing to understand is we're banning War Mothers, which means we don't have to worry about the mirror, right? If we're not worried about the mirror, then we don't need the 12 mana card, which is really, really, really important because the ramp cards are really bad in the matchups that we are scared about. So what BBG and Amazonian both seem likely to bring, or I don't know about Amazonian, but BBG is likely to bring some form of Demacia. I'm guessing Scouts, Lee Sin, and War Mothers, or some kind of, it doesn't have to be exactly War Mothers, but some kind of Shadow Isles Freljord like this. I'm effectively committed in my lineup to ban out the War Mothers, which is, I think, one of the best bans right now just because it generates the most polarized card choices and tables. So I don't want to go against that mirror if I don't have to. And then I tech my decks very, very hard for 2 matchups. Those being Scouts or maybe some other form of mid-range. I could see a Furashen potentially, but Demacia and Lee Sin. I'm actually expecting people to still bring Lee Sin, even though I don't really love it. And I'm making sure my decks are good against those matchups. So this is effectively a hard-teched version of Shadow Isles Freljord Control against both what I expect to be a pretty mid-range field, which is rare, because we haven't seen mid-range in Runeterra for a long time, but BBG loves that shit. And I expect, like, on average, you'll see, like, newer players like Kibler or Amazonian bring more mid-range as well. And we've got a lot of, like, every card in this deck is anti-midrange and anti-Lee Sin, basically, is the idea. So, obviously, it looks like a super weird deck. I mean, Howling Abyss isn't that bad. I don't like it on ladder, just because, you know, I mean, you lose mirrors really, really hard if you're not the one running the 12-mana spell. But Howling Abyss is fine. It's not a bad card. It's just that one thing that's keeping it back. So this is our second deck, right? Keep in mind, tournament decks are going to look a lot different from ladder decks. This is why we say, like, you've probably heard people say, oh, so-and-so is better in tournament than a ladder. It's a completely different format. So this is not something I would ever bring on ladder right now.
Yeah, don't.
And this is our third deck. Tahm Soraka. It is a somewhat vanilla form of Tahm Soraka. I've gone for Broadback to Protector. Honestly, against Scouts, I could have gone for the Hunting Fleet, possibly. We kept Protector in. I don't like the idea of potentially losing to some form of, like, aggro. I don't think BBG hates aggro. He doesn't bring it, like, ever to anything. Amazonian might. I don't know. But this is a pretty good deck against the field right now. Again, Tahm Soraka, so keep in mind, when we're building decks and when we're talking about tournament lineups, it's important that, so your ban is like an umbrella, right? It protects you against one thing, and everything else changes based on that one thing's existence disappearing. Tahm Soraka is actually a really good deck, with the exception of the fact that it can't really beat War Mothers, right? But we don't have to play against War Mothers because we're banning it. So Tahm Soraka gets a lot better. This is a deck that's good against any form of, like, aggro Scouts. It's a deck that's good against Lee Sin. If you play it right, it's a bit of a tricky matchup. But now that Lee Sin's nerfed, I think it's a lot better against Lee Sin anyway. This is a pretty great deck in this format, I think. We're running 1-star Shepherd. I could have seen running 2. Having like a 1 mana 3 health unit is just really good against stuff like scouts. But it's a fairly standard version of Tahm Soraka. I could have gone more anti... So Broadback's Protector is basically anti-aggro, and Hunting Fleet is anti-midrange. And scouts exist in a sort of twilight zone between midrange and aggro, depending on exactly how you define it. For the most part, Hunting Fleet would be a good choice here. I'm just a little scared of the implication of trying it against some of the aggro thing. But Hunting Fleet's also good against Lee Sin, so I definitely could have maybe swapped off to this one. The reason people stopped running Hunting Fleet on ladder and are all running Broadback Protector is A, you need to run anti-aggro on ladder because that's how ladder works, and B, Hunting Fleet isn't that good against the general field right now because it's an anti-midrange card in a meta where midrange as a concept doesn't really exist that much. And again, I expect to see a lot more mid-range in the field against these two players than we will see on ladder. So that's a potential swap I could have made for that reason. Those are my 3 decks. They look pretty weird, and the Chevaliers are objectively terrible.
No, they're not. I have arguments. They're not.
Okay, give me your argument.
I can't.
Why not?
I just can't. But you have to trust me on this one. That's it.
You're such a fucking troll, dude. Oh, both War Mother's decks were banned. Okay, sounds right. Okay, so right off the bat, we're getting the Draven Swain deck. This is a really, really interesting one. Probably have to mulligan a little bit more aggressively here. Don't think I can keep Broadbacked or Astral here, especially with Starspring in hands. Starspring might be really hard to use here, since he's going to keep my board pretty narrow. I think this is actually a matchup where I kick Starspring. It might be. Like, Tahm Kench we're very, very dependent on. I'll keep it in the opening hands. It's like, it's almost a matchup where I'm kicking it. And we have to keep Soraka as well. We drew a little badly. Especially with Starspring, we need a 1-drop. Doesn't have to be Krusty. It could be what's her name. Didn't get it here. Getting our unit mana out of our hands is kind of nice. Sorry for the pause. I'm just making sure I have the deck list pulled up because I'm going to be looking at it very, very often. If I pass, he kind of knows I have hard gun. Symmetrical passing is pretty bad for me. Just gets him closer to Leviathan turns. And hard gun isn't really that great here. It doesn't do much against Draven, which is usually his play anyway. I probably have no choice but to just play Soraka.
To heal and protect.
But yeah, if I pass there, he'll pass back, burn both of our mana, just because his deck doesn't necessarily have the late game, but when we're both burning mana, it certainly does. Because I need to be playing my mana for my deck to have the late game, whereas he just needs to wait until the Leviathan turn, basically. So if I attack now, it's a bluffable spot for Pale Cascade, basically. He'll never be able to block because I could have Pale Cascade and just kill the Draven. And he has no re-response to Pale Cascade. So I have a free attack here that he simply can't block.
Hey, buddy, what you doing?
Am I missing something? What am I missing here? He's got a second Draven and he doesn't mind having the first one die? He's just trading Draven with Whirling Death? That's a big trade down for him, though. Because he'd have to use, like, his axe has no good discard target. To take that block, he literally has to have the second Draven in hands. Did he just troll?
Draven down.
Okay. He's got the one flock. That's too bad for me. That's definitely a misplay. There's certain hands that I can do that with, but not this hand. Yeah, Flock is too much of a breakable card for this deck. I'm so used to just kind of not being able to play around Flock's value no matter what. But this is a matchup where I can absolutely play to brick it. And I should be. It's also like somewhat over-respecting Draven. The Draven doesn't really mean too much here. If we had either a Tahm or a second Soraka in hands, I think we're okay with like having him commit to kill one of them. But without a second one in hands, we can't do that. It's just too risky. So we draw the Tahm here. We're probably completely forced to play it this turn. There's really no way around that. Tahm is pretty hard for him to deal with. If he has a Thermo Beam, he could kill it and be pretty safe because we're at 3 mana. If I pass here, I think he should basically always pass back. That might honestly be fine for me though. The Tahm is too important. Yeah, he has actually a good mushroom pass here because he knows that if I play Tahm, so he can't Thermo Beam it anymore. He literally can't, I think. Especially if I snap this in, because now he doesn't have enough to beat Pale, and it's just playing deeper into stuff like Astral. I think because of the first mushroom, I have to play Tahm. If he has Thermo, he should feel like basically I'm bluffing Pale Cascade, effectively. But yeah, this is a weird matchup. I've prepped this deck and I've prepped against that deck, but we never prepped this matchup. Just because Swain is a very weird deck to be playing in general. So he's going to get some surprise value off of that. The scary thing is that against this deck, going down to low health early can be really bad. We can't take too much damage early. I think we have to be okay taking this. This is probably the last damage we can comfortably take though. We're taking a lot of damage. If I stabilize with Tahm with Astral Projection, we could honestly be fine. He would need to like Mystic Shot here, and we're healing it up so much. It's so hard for him to kill this Tahm here. He loses so much value by doing it. We have Guiding Touch for face if we need it. I think in this deck I can go down to 12 pretty easily. I think that's fine.
So what's in store for me?
It's just too risky blocking with Tahm. So the risk is if I block with Tahm and he Mystic Shots on the stack, then he can like force out Astral when Astral's getting no healing and stuff like that, which can be really, really bad for me. Especially when Tahm should be hitting higher value, like eating a Swain or potentially even a Draven. So I don't understand that play at all. He's not running Reckoning. What? I actually understand literally nothing about that play. He's about to Progress Day is the only thing that could be. Yeah, he has to be about to Progress Day. He's just making space in his hand. So we know what he's about to do. That's pretty good. If I leave up Acquired Taste. I mean, I do have to play Soraka this turn, I think. It just means we're going to have to skip the Acquired Taste, which I think is fine. Soraka's a little too valuable to play here anyway.
There may be redemption for you yet.
So there's the Progress Day. So I do have the ability to Acquired Taste and basically hope he doesn't have the second Flock. He could also actually have Mystic Shot at 1 mana too. His deck is running 3 Mystic Shots, but it would have to have been drawn there. I think the safe play is to just skip the Acquired Taste. I mean, Tahm Kench is basically how we win this matchup. We can't really just give it away for free. I don't think we need to take weird risks here. And I'm not really worried about Progress Day's impact on a game like this, where my deck has the late game because I have a board. This deck doesn't always have the late game, but when you have board states like this, it kind of does. The one kind of scary thing is he's running 1 Scorched Earth, so he actually does have the ability to kill our Star Spring, and we should potentially assume he's going to, right? Which is weird, but we're kind of forced to do that. So it's turn 7. We assume Leviathan should be coming out soon. He could be playing an Arachnoid Sentry, which doesn't lower my ability to do very much since Soraka's heal is pretty weak here. I think this is a pretty free hired gun to develop. He doesn't really have good development punishes with the exception of Sentry, which doesn't really hurt boards like this. Shakedown, bit of an unreliable card, but pretty uniquely good in hands like this. What I need is for him to play, like, if I don't play Acquired Taste, he can kind of not play Swain, and that's a very, very, very big deal. Progress Day, the scary thing about Progress Day is, like, we do have to be aware that any cards in his hand could be discounted by 1 mana, which means our range of what we have to play around is, like, exponentiated, right?
I have consulted the stars,
Which is a very, very big deal.
board.
Yep, so he stops the Soraka's attack here, but again, on this board state, the Soraka's attack doesn't really matter that much.
Take heart.
His Nexus health has a somewhat harder time mattering. But now if he moves into like Mystic Shot at Tahm Kench, that becomes a lot worse for him. I have the mana advantage. If I go in with Tahm Kench, I got a 10. He's threatening 6. He can't re-threaten the 4. He'd have exactly 4 mana left.
My comestibles are getting
That's
cold.
10.
I know desire. I do enjoy prospect.
Owning the board actually matters a lot here. I think this is actually okay to do. So my Tahm now has an Astral Protection, which just kind of nuts him out. If I need it. I don't even need it. But we're still locking him out of Swain, because I'm representing the Astral Protection acquired taste hand. So he's got a Swain here he really wants to play. And now that he's blocked that, he can, but only if he's willing to not play around Astral Protection, which he can't do. So he's thinking about the Swain on his hand, and he's thinking, should he take the risk to develop it? And he might decide he has to, which is very good for us. Let me change the track. So I can't Guiding Touch. The question is, do I Astral now? I don't think I do. With this hand, there's no reason to Astral as aggressively. Pass, leave up the option. So now, all of a sudden, unlike before, this pass kind of tells him I have Astral. Which is fine, because I need to represent it. If he has the Swain, he should, at this point, it's, I think, likely that he realizes he can't play it. Because the odds of me having Astral from his perspective just spiked.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
And now that he's done that, I think I actually go... I can accelerate my Star Spring. The only thing is he could have Scorched Earth. So going like aggressively for the Star Spring win condition might not be right. But I mean, I can honestly eat this Trump Wump and there's nothing he can do about it. I'd have 6 health plus Guiding. I'd have 7 plus Guiding Touch. I do want to be somewhat mana efficient. I guess I just Guiding Touch now. He's under mana for the ability to play Swain, so now we can just Guiding Touch. And I think we touch our face easily, actually. No, but then we're not... Well, no, so we're still drawing a card off of Soraka. Let's touch our face here. I'm scared of my face. Pale Cascade is a sick draw. That feels good. So, you see what happened here. He couldn't have played Swain because I was passing. And now that he didn't play Swain and he spent his mana and no longer has the Swain, now I can Pale my face, which I couldn't have done before he passed not having Swain anymore, because if he had Swain, I needed Astral plus Acquired Taste. But now I can basically skip all of that, which is really, really nice. And represent my options reactively as a threat without pre-committing to anything, right? Just be a little bit more... Wow, he got 2 mushrooms off of that. Jeez. That hurts a little bit. But this is kind of how you have to play Tahm Soraka. This is also a good lesson for just like control mirrors in general. Like that sort of interaction happens very, very, very commonly, which is just, it's not a mind game even. Like I assume he has Swain on his hand and he assumes I have Astral Protection in hand, and we're both playing assuming that. And he's the one who has to spend his mana first, which means I force him to do that, and then I'm able to Guiding Touch and be a little bit more efficient by playing the Guiding Touch there. So he's just doing another cheeky burst pass. Like, with playstyles like this, this idea of like burst passing is really important. I mean, I can open with a Bayou Brunch, honestly. The ability to make my Tahm a bit healthier is really nice. And he literally can't possibly threaten my Tahm through Astral Protection. Astral Protection is kind of an insane card in terms of this kind of matchup and what we need in this kind of board. Like, he can't really do much to this. Bayou Brunch was a hilariously good draw in this position, actually. So the scary thing is, again, he could Scorched Earth our Star Spring, which means we have to kill him through Nexus damage. But we have the kind of board that I think makes that all right. So look at what's happening here. He's got a Leviathan that he wants to play but can't. Look at my hand. I have Acquired Taste, plus I have Astral Protection. And because Leviathan costs so much mana, if he passes back to me with 8 mana, I'll play Boxtopus and go down to 6. And then I'll still have Acquired Taste plus Astral, because I'll have 6 mana. If he passes again with his 8 mana, I'll pass. If he spends it on Leviathan, I have a counter, And if he spends it on something other than Leviathan, I should have answer to that, but then also I can spend more of my mana too, right? And that's like the dynamic of control decks in Runeterra, which is like, it's not a mind game, it's this back and forth zigzag around like having the action and being able to outpass your opponent, basically. Like he's screwed here. He wants to play Leviathan, but he can't, and he knows he can't. And when he passes to me, I'll play Boxtopus. And then he'll kind of have to play Leviathan, and he should lose off of that. Because at that point, he's burning too much mana if he passes. Maybe he could play like Swain or something. You know, there's middle grounds, but those aren't necessarily great answers either. So he's doing a Mushroom Cloud Burst pass. Now keep in mind, because these control mirrors generate so much, there's so much about this pass mentality. Burst passes are very strong. What a burst pass is when you play a burst speed spell and then pass, or you can do this with any action, but usually burst spells are very cheap. I now have to act first. He's basically giving me proactivity to give himself reactivity. So now I have to play Boxtopus. Luckily, I have a good answer to that because, I mean, he still can't play Leviathan, and he shouldn't feel comfortable about playing Swain either. So there's the Swain, and now he's only representing 3 mana. Which means there's not really anything he can do when I go in to eat the Swain with the Tahm Kench, right? Which is really, really nice. If I go in to do it now, my Tahm Kench is under threat of 3, Astral goes 8, and then basically, even if he has a double flock hand, my Tahm is fine. There's a very weird triple flock hand that actually could be an issue for me. It actually, well, there's a chance we lose to a triple flock hand. The sad thing is because Bayou Brunch increases Tom's max HP, I can't actually stop Flock by giving him 10 max HP with Astral. Which is funny. But, of course, I mean, I couldn't have done that without the Bayou Brunch's HP anyway. So yeah, that's kind of the mentality that's most important in Runeterra, if you're coming from other games. Like, Kibler, you know, obviously not knowing that was Kibler's biggest mistake, just not playing reactively and not playing for spell mana. Because the ability to just, like, stay reactive and counter whatever your opponent is doing at any point in time is just far, far too valuable. And spell mana is really, really powerful for that in specific matchups. This being one of them. So, yeah, in slower games. But the thing about Runeterra is, like, even in more proactive matchups, you usually see these patterns. And this is why I'm not too afraid of landmark removal, because when we look at a game like this, even if he kills my Star Spring, I still feel pretty good. And again, he can never play Leviathan. And this is why single turn expensive cards that are potentially answerable like this are bad. He can literally never play the Leviathan, right? Which has to, you know, that's super awkward for him. He needs to be able to play that card or he loses. Like, even if he has Leviathan Flock, I have an answer to that, which is hilarious because that means I actually have an attack here, even though I kind of shouldn't. So we can just full attack with these. This is a sweet attack. One of the cool things you can do with attacks is you can pass priority to your opponent. Again, keep in mind, you want to be reactive in these matchups. So like how he was doing like the Mushroom Cloud and passing priority to me to gain the reactive option, I can do the same by open attacking, right? Which sometimes in control mirrors, you'll do a really weak open attack. Like, so you can attack with a 0 attack unit to do that, right? Sometimes. And sometimes you can do a really weak attack just for the ability to have that priority, right? Which I know is super counterintuitive. So he's starting exact lethal on my Soraka. Here, I mean, I can like shake down into Pale Cascade. We do want to keep mana options open, but he tapped under Leviathan, which means I don't need to keep my mana options as open anymore, right? I certainly can't let my Soraka die for free here, so I'm pretty happy just doing like a shakedown into Pale Cascade just to like redraw, rethreaten. Looks pretty good. I think this is, yeah, basically I just want the ability to draw the card off of Pale. So it's a weird shakedown, didn't really do much, but that's fine. Doesn't need to do more than that. And you'll see now, like, the way this game played out, this is why I used Guiding Touch on my face even so early. Because that's the one scary thing his deck does. It can sometimes kill me very, very quickly. So I have to be very careful about that. So if he doesn't have the landmark removal card, he will just lose here. There's kind of no way around that. I can play the Croaker first. Honestly, if he removes my landmark, then I'll just play Protector next anyway, so it should be totally fine.
So what's in store for me?
These mushrooms. He actually put so many mushrooms on my deck, it's crazy. So it has to be Scorched Earth here, so he doesn't lose on the spot. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I actually could have played around that. I wonder if there's any like weird hands we could actually lose to now. Interesting. I mean, I'm playing Broadback Protector, so I'm just healing. Yeah, I definitely forgot about the flock. What I could have done... No, if I play the Croaker second, then I don't have mana to Yeah, I had to do it exactly like that. That's fine, though. It shouldn't matter, because I'm playing the Broadback Protector anyway, which is just going to heal me up. And he doesn't do anything to Tahm. So you'll notice, like, look, I'm not even playing Acquired Taste in my hand, right? That seems weird. Because you'd think, oh, in value, I need to use this. But if I ever use this card, all I'm doing is letting him play his big thing. This is what Tahm Kench does. He puts the game into a situation where I don't have to play my card. But as soon as he plays Leviathan or Swain, I'll eat it for free. And if he taps under, then I can tap under. But basically, we're just forcing the game into a no-win situation for him. Because we always have the option of Acquired Taste. He has to play into it no matter what. And that's why, like, a lot of people underrated Tahm Kench at first, including myself, when he came out. Because the idea is, you know, people were looking at Acquired Taste as a value card. Tahm Kench looks a lot worse when you think about the game in that way. But when you're thinking about the game in terms of generating reactivity and punishing opponents' play, the fact that this is a cheap card is very, very important. It does a lot for being a cheap card, which means I have the ability to control the mana game. It's not that I pay less mana. It's that I can always threaten this even when I spend my mana on other things. That's why this is important that it's cheap, right? Game 1.